For more on all of this, let's bring in BMO Head of Healthcare Research, David Seigerman. Evan, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is really becoming a battle over Metsera. Is Metsera worth this much? And who is it worth more to, Novo or Pfizer?
Well, I think Metsera is definitely worth this much. As you know, the obesity market is likely to be, in our estimates, upwards of $130 billion when you lump in diabetes. So there is a big opportunity here. And right now, it's only Lilly and Novo. So in terms of who it's worth more to, I think Pfizer could make a big splash. They could be a significant third player. But from the Novo perspective, they need to make up ground. We've seen Novo shares get slashed more than in half at this point because of cutting guidance, as you have said, issues with, board, issues with drugs. So they really need something to help them kind of, support their next leg of growth. So it's probably worth a lot to both Pfizer and Novo Nordisk, depending on how you look at it.
For Pfizer, it gets them into the obesity space, and for Novo, it sort of plugs their portfolio. But we are in a period, Evan, where next year, the beginning of next year, they're going to be ready to launch the oral Wegovy pill pending FDA approval. The company said on the conference call they've got plenty of supply. They are ready to meet any demand that there is, compared to the launch of the shot, where they had too much demand and not enough shots.
Right.
And so, how should we think about the Metsera deal, and how should we think about how Metsera complements their portfolio and gets them deeper into it, rounds it out, and makes them more competitive against Lilly specifically?
Well, so you have Lilly's orforglipron launching next year, which I think is going to be a very competitive product, which we've talked a lot about. So in terms of what Novo needs, Metsera gives them a longer-acting GLP-1, which they don't have. So instead of once a week, you have it once a month. You have another option for amylin. So when I spoke to the company today following results, they indicated that they want multiple shots on goal with amylin, with either cagrilintide, amycretin, and potentially the Metsera asset. And of course, the Metsera oral is a peptide that does not have the food effect. We've talked a lot about this, where Wegovy in a pill, you have to not eat for a half hour after you take it.
EDS, not to make you play the role of risk arbitrageur, but it seems as though Metsera, given what we're seeing from both these participants, is still relatively undervalued, understanding there's risk by definition out there. What are your senses about the stock at these levels?
I mean, listen, I think that a de-risked obesity asset is hot, and it's pretty clear that, this is something that both Pfizer and Novo and a third party that was in the proxy filing wanted. And so I think that there is definitely value that could be unlocked, and I expect the Pfizer bid to potentially best Novo Nordisk. The thing with the Pfizer bid is that if it's accepted, they've already received FTC clearance, so it could close within a number of weeks.
I want to switch gears a little bit, Evan, and talk about drug pricing in the administration. There's a deal that's expected to be announced as early as tomorrow that the lowest dose of the weight loss drugs would be sold on Trump RX for $149 in exchange, basically, for Medicaid and Medicare coverage of the drugs for the treatment of obesity as opposed to type 2 diabetes, which it's currently covered for. How meaningful is that to these stocks?
I think that is very meaningful. That's been kind of the missing piece when it comes to the obesity market, getting real Medicare coverage. You kind of have it backdoor via, sleep apnea for some of the indications of Zepbound, for example. So this is definitely meaningful. And, I think the $299 price for Zepbound actually is a pretty good deal. It's $50 lower than the lowest dose cash pay with Lilly Direct. So it's not that much of a concession. And I expect the prices for the higher doses to be higher. So net, it's a win for Lilly and Novo because they get access to this very large market.